All right, how's it going, guys? Thanks for being here today. Name's Erin. I did an ethics study on the corporation Nike. They're a sporting equipment and apparel company. Um, quick overview. In charge of that. Quick overview. They were created and established in 1971. Currently in 2016, they're They're rated the top sporting equipment retailer amongst the market, sharing 47%. And in 2015, they totaled of 30.6 billion in revenue, and that's 3.2 billion in net revenue. So they're getting a great profit. And their main competitors are Adidas, Under Armour, Reebok, Converse, other shoe retailers. And I did a quick breakdown of the different aspects and categories in the company. Starting with management. They have a flat management organization. They have CEOs and chairmen. And their CEO, Mark Parker, he created and implemented the succession strategy in their corporation. And it's pretty much a strategy spread to management on different levels, just to outline how each manager should act. And Phil Knight, co-founder and chairman, he's the one in charge of hiring the executives and managers of this company. And he seeks like a high level of expectation and leadership over management, and expects that their managers rather being told what to do, lead by themselves. He has a 5-step process of the succession strategy. One, constantly strive to achieve your goals, and that means pretty much just like constantly have an urge to be better. 2, create a business culture of change, constant change, constant business to just improve. Just improve the workplace. Number 3, never stop innovating and improving. Number 4, eliminate complacency, which means taking out the comfortable aspect of a workplace and always wanting to better yourself as an employee. And 5, invest in your number one resource, the people, your customers. The marketing strategy of Nike. They utilize a marketing mix. They break down product, price, place, and promotion. The product is shoe, sporting equipment, apparel. Price. It is set as a competitive price strategy. They're meant to not be cheap and not be too expensive, and to compete with other shoe retailers. Place. They have 20,000 plus retail stores in over 250 countries. Promotion. They target sporting advertising opportunities such as different sporting events, and they also utilize product placement in large athletes in these sports, such as like LeBron James, Tiger Woods, etc. Accounting and finance. Their annual revenue is very high. For 2015, they accrued 30.6 billion in revenue. Forecasted by 2020, forecast set by Phil Knight was to reach 50 billion in total, with an increase in women's line for 6.3 million throughout the 5 years, as well as an e-commerce increase of 6 million to overall increase just these certain categories such as women's clothing, women's attire, and items being sold online such as Nike ID and other stuff like that. Lastly, operations. They have 5 major concepts of operations. 1, forecasting, control, designing, operating, and scheduling. This is the outline set by the operations CEO, and this is their key to Nike's operation. And for production of their goods, they focus on outsourcing, meaning that they take no in-house costs and completely make they don't make anything. They completely send um, their works to other factories and subsidiaries for them to make their own production. Um, Throughout all these, there's the big question of where the ethics issues lies. It's been under wraps for the first half of the company's life as to where they get their production, as well as to like where they source their manufacturing. Um, and this was found completely all through outsourcing. The purpose of outsourcing by itself is to shave costs and be able to have the company focus on design, marketing, and distribution. And the first contract that they had like overseas was with a Japan-based company, and they shifted to Taiwan, South Korea, Indonesia, China, and Vietnam. And these countries, they total 86% of the total production of Nike's products. And this outsourcing strategy actually in turn hurt Nike because they didn't have control over their factories, which in turn let these overseas countries, govern how they treated the employees in these factories. So it was partially out of Nike's hands, but there's a lot of violations that occurred. Factories owned by Nike were found in violation of labor laws and code of conduct. This was really behind closed doors for a long time until human rights activists and labor activists noticed that sweatshops in Asia are still very current and around still. These labor violations suggest work past legal maximum hours for workers, wages insufficient, health and safety hazards, child labor, sexual harassment, and wages that cannot be livable off of. Start with Cambodia. They had a child labor case. 2 children were found ages 12 to 14 years old. They were forced to work 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and their only rest was standing and only rest from standing was for a meal break in between those hours. Harassment case was also filed. Kang Cheng Lang, a factory union president, was out to fix labor problems, but suffered threats from the factories and refused time, which was pressuring her to resign her position in order for factories to keep on able to act like the way they are. In Indonesia, there are 12 factories starting in 1991, employing around 130,000 people. One factory in particular found after an audit that barefoot workers were in the factories, and the factory's temperature was passing 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Along with that, there are hazardous fumes from plastic and glue just from production of the shoes, and they didn't have a livable salary as well. Nike followed up by saying that even though it's a low wage, it's more than that they were making before. I don't know if that's great corporate social responsibility, but in turn they kept it going, and they didn't solve that problem for another 3 years until 1994 when they had another audit. Following that, lastly in Vietnam, they still had sweatshops intact in Vietnam. The Taekwon Vita factory employed 10,000 people, forced workers overtime, and only paid $40 a month for salary, which followed verbal and physical abuse by management. Also, an audit by Ernst & Young in 1997 showed that 104 workers under the age of 18 were found in this factory. And then there's cases of sexual harassment in this factory. I'm sorry. 85% of the employees were workers. So foreign management targeted female assembly line workers to quote unquote touch, grab, rub, and grope the behind or chest area of these female workers in broad daylight in front of everyone. And Nike claimed they had little control over Vietnamese manufacturers through a subcontracting arrangement. Nike noticed these changes. Nike noticed these problems that they're having, and strikes were coming about through human activist groups to stop these sweatshops and dealings. Phil Knight's speech in 1998 recognized all the problems and took credibility for them. They announced that Nike will raise the minimum age of workers, significantly increase monitoring, and will adapt U.S. OSHA clean air standards in all factories, which was enforced. And Phil Knight also created the Fair Labor Association, which is a non-profit organization for companies to combine with human rights organization representatives to establish independent monitoring and a code of conduct for each of these companies. Followed by audits in 2002 and 2004. 600 audits were done in all 600 factories, with repeat visits to problematic factories to fix the problem again. And in 2005 to present, they stay consistent with posts of commitment standards and audit data, just to show their corporate responsibility to society. And since they're being a big company, they need to follow the rules, even though it's not even in their country. And that's it. Dressed.
Tucked in too.
Tucked in.